Welcome to the second season of the Deep Media Pulse. In this new episode, we speak with Sébastien Célimon, one of Europe's leading experts on manga and Webtoons, to explore the global potential of Asian storytelling. Partner and co-founder of the Please Comics Rights and Events Agency, and CEO of White Dragon Event, he also discusses whether the Western entertainment industry has truly recognized the power of Webtoons and their growing influence on the future of content creation.
Good evening, I'm Veronica Arciari and welcome to the Deep Media Pulse, the first podcast dedicated to the evolution of content, IPs and brands, produced by Licensing Magazine together with Animation Journal. I would like to welcome on this new episode of Deep Media Pulse, Sébastien Célimon. Thank you for being with us, Sébastien. And I would ask him to introduce himself because he does so many things that it's hard to describe him in one word.
Thanks for having me. Yes, I'm very pleased to be there. So, well, in few words, how I can describe myself, I'm kind of Swiss Army knife coming from the comics world. So basically, I come from the very classical paper world, but through my professional journey, I dedicated my work to the rising of the web comics, digital comics, Webtoon now, and tomorrow digital manga. Yes, if I have to just give you some titles, I own two companies, one agencies, one working for doing events and consultancy, the other one to represent artists and artworks. So I try to cover a lot of topics and services with my partners. So one company is called White Dragon Event, and the other one is called Please Comics Rights and Event Agency. A lot of things to do, though, and I would say that's me.
And since we're here in Annecy, I would like to know what you've been up to, what kind of events and things you've taken part in, so that we can try and understand a little bit more about what you're doing.
Well, what I'm doing is to building bridges between CCIs. In France, for example, but that's not only in France, CCIs are developed as silos. They don't always work together. They don't always understand what the other silo does. And that's how it is. But ideally, that should change. Because, for example, in South Korea, in Republic of South Korea, the CCIs, they are intertwined. That means that they force themselves to work together because their goal is to, develop their soft power for the promotion of the South Korea creativity. So some of this creativity, you can feel it's very, for a very commercial reason, like K-pop or some of the K-pop, but still, they make a lot of investment and strengths and capacity and skills to work together. And in France, as we have a very, to be honest, a quite very efficient ecosystem network through their different, silos constructions, they think it's enough. It's a quite old-fashioned way of doing things. And so to answer to your question, what I'm doing in MIFA is to push, to bring positive energy, to encourage MIFA, for example, and it is clearly their demand, so that's really fine, and I'm glad we can speak together about that and we can work together about that to precisely create these binds. So I was, last year, I was invited to create a panel about Webtoon and animation. So basically the meeting between Webtoon representative and animation studio. So that's great. That's the first step. This year, they are creating the cross IP area, which I'm part of. I was asked to attract new exhibitors coming from precisely Webtoon ecosystem. So I have a couple of them there. Also doing panels again. So yesterday I did a panel about cross IP. So slowly but surely, my work is to, bring data, information, sensibilize, educate the audience on these topics, to let the professional explain what they do, just again to create binds and to create opportunity to understand each other better for business opportunities, but also for intellectual reasons, because you learn a lot and it could be very helpful on your daily basis work, you know. So yes, that's exactly what I do here. So I was invited to host for newcomers in MIFA panels. So I did one with, for example, just today with for Prime Video. And the fun things was that on stage I was with Robert Kirkman, who comes from comics. He's the creator of The Walking Dead and Invincible. We had an artist, a cartoon artist, which started with crowdfunding, and she did animation on YouTube. She created dual animation. She obtained a huge success, and Prime Video was so impressed that they hired her to gain their rights to do the next season of their show. So actually, Prime Video just illustrates these bridges. They are already ongoing. But the fact is, and I will go back to the previous questions, there were non-French people around me. It's just, well, it's easier for an American to work with an American, but still, it says something. So I would be very pleased next year, maybe if they renew their panel, that there will be a French artist with this kind of very, you know, atypical background. But actually, atypical and cross IP is becoming the norm. So everyone in the market, which are now thinking that the norm is to work as silos on their lane, and that's great. It could work for a time, but actually the trend and the norm now is to get someone coming from other industry, other cultural creation. That's why Webtoon interests everyone, because if I'm very basic, to acquire a Webtoon right to do a TV animation series is way cheaper than to purchase, I don't know, a novel or a comics and the good things with Webtoon is that the community is the key. So if you have a Webtoon with, I don't know, 10 million readers, and the acquisition price is very, very low in comparison with the other kind of IP, well, it's definitely a huge opportunity. So that's where we are right now. So what I do is try to create this spine for these kind of opportunities, but again, for people to know more and better each other. And yes, and sometimes I'm very happy because I see miracles. I see someone having, you know, a spark in the eyes when he met with a Webtoon creators, that he sees the artworks on his smartphone saying, wow, I didn't expect that. I wasn't aware. That's crazy, but I want to know more. And do you have an agent, or do you have any representative? And have you sold your right? Can we have a discussion? And so on, and so on, and so on. So that's what I'm part of. And I'm very proud to be this kind of, I would say, an electro, you know, this little particle, which bring positive energy, and which is where you do not expect that it will be, because that's exactly the definition of an electro, is that you can statistically say that it should be there, but it's not necessarily there, just statistically. And in a way, I like the idea that that's maybe me, because maybe tomorrow I will be somewhere else that you are not expecting, maybe not me actually. But this is also something great, you know, to not know, and yeah, just opportunities, and having fun and enjoying your life, and my part. Yeah.
So you've just mentioned Webtoons, and I remember you being in a panel in Bologna a few months ago discussing Webtoons, and I would like you to tell me, what do you think the future of Webtoons in the next 5 to 10 years is? I know we don't have a crystal ball, but let's try and see based on your experience. You work in events, you know, to bring Webtoons into the spotlight. So what are your opinions on that?
Actually, it depends on which territory you are focusing on. Okay. Because, for example, you have to be very aware that depending of if you are in France or in the US or in Korea, in Asia, globally, the Webtoon has not the same history. In Korea, Webtoon was the first Webtoon platform was launched in 2004, 20 years ago, 22 years ago, when the first relevant, efficient French Webtoon platform was successful only in 2019. So we are some kind of toddler, if I may, like kids in front of an adult. So in Korea, the market is very mature, where in France, it's just, a niche market, an emerging market. So that's very, very important to have that in mind. But what I can say in a very comprehensive overview is that Webtoon right now will be very soon challenged by the digital manga. The major platform are now, I would say, they are preparing the next move precisely because of the rising of the digital manga. So that will be their main challengers. The challenge actually is about Webtoon as new content to consume, but also like a new world where you can pick some very, very strong and fruitful IPs. So actually, it's not necessarily about Webtoon by itself, but about rising the new IPs, the future's IPs. One of my bets for a very long time, and maybe Solo Leveling be a kind of answer about that, is the next One Piece or the next Dragon Ball or the next, I don't know, Harry Potter maybe, will come from the digital creation. That's one of my bets. And to be honest, it seems that, yes, a lot of things are happening right now. So I've heard that there are some adaptation ongoing from, for example, Lore Olympus, which is the most well-known, most famous webtoon outside of Korea, is now turned into an animation series, which will be broadcast on Prime Video, so worldwide broadcasts. So we are on this stage of evolution. So Webtoon IPs are now growing very fast worldwide, not necessarily in France, to say the least and to say the truth, but there is no reason to desperate. It's just that we are late, if I can say like that. And there is a lot of initiative in France and in Europe to try to not make up, because it doesn't mean anything to make up. Technologically speaking, that it's stupid to try to make up. But at least to understand what is going right now and what will be the next move where they can maybe put a step, maybe. So that's what here we are. So in 5 years by now, you're right, I have no crystal ball, but I think that we will have two very, very strong IP challenger within the webcomics, digital manga, and webtoon area. They're coming mostly from Asia so far, but we may have some surprise for new IPs coming from maybe, Brazil or maybe Africa. I know a lot of so talented artists in Africa, so I really hope for them to one day emerge worldwide.
Well, we'll meet in 5 years and see if you were right, if you had a crystal ball. So you've mentioned France, as an example of a European country. So I have a little bit of a provocative question.
Yes,
do you think Europe has actually understood Webtoons, the power of Webtoons, and do you think there are misconceptions still? And what do you think could be the solution for that?
Good question. Well, I would say that, as usual, the creators are the avant-garde of a new cultural phenomenon. And then these creators should be supported by private companies like producers or publishing house or platforms. And in a way, that's where we are right now, okay? But to say the truth, in France, for example, we don't have yet someone on a governmental level which is dedicated to think how Webtoon could be something to be supported through legal and institutional way. And to be honest, that's an issue, because my explanation my explanation is based on the answers I received from at least two French cultural agencies. One is the CNC, so cinema, and the other one is the CNL, books. One say, well, Webtoon is not a book because it's digital, so it's not for us. And the other one say, well, it's on screen, but it doesn't move, so it's not animated. There is no movement. It's not for us. So what I say is, okay, guys, you maybe should talk together because there may be some solution just that way. And also, the time you spend wondering if it's for you or not for you, the Webtoon train is already very far, you know? So it's really up to you, but there are now real artists who have thousands of hundreds followers and supporters and community. They are expecting from you a ear and someone to talk with, and there is none yet. So hopefully they will have someone one day soon. But you may know that in France we are specifically in a very sensitive time of elections. We had the city hall elections. We will have the presidential election, and then we have regional elections. And when you have elections, everything freezes in terms of finance, in terms of decision, and unfortunately, Webtoon is not the subject yet. I try. This is also one of my duty as a Webtoon promoter, but I mean, I do that for free. It's not. I'm not paid to do that, but I think it's necessary. It's something to do necessary to go speak with CNL and CNC and any governmental responsible representative, just to say, guys, you should know better. You should move. You should know what's coming next, the digital manga, and you should be prepared to have some answers because right now, apparently, you are just, out of the blue. So that's not good. That's not great.
Well, you've just done a part of your job, which is to again let people know about Webtoons and this whole world. And I hope that a lot of our the people that listen to our podcast will have found out some interesting new insights. So thank you for that, and keep doing this work for all of us in the industry. And thank you guys for listening. And I'll see you in the next episode of the Deep Media Pulse.
You've just listened to the Deep Media Pulse, Decoding Brand and Content Evolution, a video podcast powered by Licensing Magazine and Animation Journal. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next episode.